Hello, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the CRPD, which is the Canadian Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We're also going to be talking about clawbacks, provincial clawbacks. Everyone knows about provincial clawbacks. And if you don't know, well, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that on today's episode. We're also going to be talking about the Canada Disability Benefit, the one that was originally launched in 2020 during when COVID was full blown out there, and people got CERB, and people didn't qualify for the Canada Disability Benefit. Why? Because, well, we hadn't designed it yet, but we announced it. Empty promises, empty promises. Yeah. So stay tuned, and we're going to be talking all about these topics up next. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. Today, we're going to be talking about the Convention Rights of Persons with Disabilities that was, well, originally launched back in 2010. We're in 2025, 15 years later, and, well, the rights are not being met by federal and provincial governments in Canada. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be a huge topic we're going to be talking about. And also, we're going to be talking about provincial clawbacks. Well, that kind of leads into the Canada Disability Benefit.
Yeah.
Backs off of that topic. And please like and subscribe and share the content that you're viewing today or listening on the podcast version. And yeah, there's lots of options to choose for downloading the podcast version. If you like the content that you're viewing or hearing, please click the like button, and definitely it helps our channel out. And we always say, buy us a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a dollar bill now in live chat, so and anybody can throw us a buck or two. I have to apologize. I think my fingers were fat. I had you muted for a while. Hopefully, I didn't have you muted for the intro. I don't think I did. But
Hopefully,
when we came out of the intro, I muted you again. I didn't mean to.
if I
So
was muted during the intro, basically that's what the show is going to be about today. And joining me today is Neil Matheson, is my editor producer. Just so everyone is well aware, if you're listening on the podcast, well, who is that voice behind the scenes? That's great, Neil. He does a lot of great work with our podcast to keep things going. Sometimes there's some technical errors that do come up. It makes things entertaining. I mean, yeah, you got to make life, spice it up a bit sometimes.
I blame my fat fingers, Brent.
His fat fingers got in the way.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll stop the clawbacks from the provincial
Yeah,
clawbacks.
well, I just wanted to say like the reason we're doing today's show,
Mhm.
we kind of debated like what's a good show for today, and the reason why we're basically doing today's show is because it's kind of I'm calling it the road to 200
Mm.
because on Friday's show we're gonna have a great guest again. Cheryl Hardcastle is coming on Friday, and
Hey.
the reason why Friday's going to be good is not just because Cheryl's going to be on, although that's reason enough to celebrate because
Yeah.
she hasn't been on since I think it was mid-January the last time she was on. It was just after New
Mm.
Year's when she was on last. And I always love having her on. She's very good at directing the conversation all by
Oh yeah.
herself.
Oh yeah.
And so we just kind of let her run with it and let her talk. But again, the reason why we're doing today's show is because again, it's the road to 200. It's going to be the 200th episode when Cheryl's on Friday. It's going to be we've done 200 episodes of this sprint
Yeah.
since we've relaunched as PWD Allies. I mean, you did about 100 shows, just over, I think 102 shows or something
Mm.
on your when it was on Twitter Spaces.
Right.
You just over 100, and now we're right on the cusp of 200. So again, Friday will be the 200th episode, and so that's it's amazing to think we've done 200 of these.
Yeah. May
Yeah,
May 19th will be the 200th episode, and it's
yeah.
fabulous on how the show has grown in popularity. Because anyone will develop a disability in their life. They're rather born with a disability. They will acquire more disabilities as they get older. Disabilities don't go away. And we just have to, as society and government, just have to accept the fact that we are citizens of Canada, and the government has to take care of their citizens. And and they have to comply with the UN CRPD.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not difficult for governments to not to comply with it. They just seem to have empty, promises and excuses of why not to deal with it. I always say live the life of a person with disabilities, like lived experience, and that's what we talk about a lot on our show. And we have guests on from time to time who do share their stories, and their lived experience stories. I mean, it's real life people. I love it when people come on and share their stories with us, and it helps us grow as advocates, and also as people with disabilities, of kind of looking at maybe what do other people go through with maybe the same type of disability, or maybe they have different disabilities. It helps us kind of streamline to how do we do better as a society? Like how do we hold governments to account provincially and federally, and taking our voices forward and having MPs, MLAs, MPPs, which are in some provinces they have MPPs, which other provinces don't. But
We
anyway,
have MLAs here in BC,
yeah, and our voices
but
get carried forward, and then they
yeah,
take it to their legislature,
yeah.
and they say this is what we're hearing. And I really strongly would love to see governments all work together, and rather than throwing mudslings at each other, saying, "Well, I'm better than that government. We did such and such when we were in government. Why are you not doing it?" And then when they reverse the tables, they do the opposite, right?
Yeah.
And it's more,
Opposite George.
yeah, it's
So having said that, then let's launch right into the first empty promise.
yes.
Uh, and we're gonna do these in basically chronological order. So going on chronological order, the first really big empty promise that should have been a really good thing is the CRPD. And
Yeah,
that was in 2010.
yeah.
Canada signed on to that. It was Stephen Harper that provided his John Henry to that. And so it's been 15 years, and really nothing has changed in 15 years. Like
Yeah,
there's been no moving of the needle since,
it's
right?
been empty. I mean, and
Yeah.
in 2010, that was when the Olympics came to British Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just everyone knows where I'm broadcasting from. I'm broadcasting from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Just a hop, skip, and a jump across the pond, I call it, over to Vancouver. Well, I mean, it takes a while to get there, but it takes me almost like 5 hours to get there from Victoria. But I went to the Olympics when they were in Vancouver and watched some of the ceremonies. It was great. I loved
Mhm.
it. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories, but the memories that are pretty sour in my mind are when the UN CRPD was launched in 2010 and nothing's been done 15 years later.
Mhm.
That's a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, yeah, and let's remind people the kinds of things that are in the CRPD.
Mhm.
There's the right to life, the right to justice, the right to equality, equity. So I mean, like really big ticket items, right?
Mhm.
And you can say that both sides of government, whether it be federal or provincial, they're really dropping the ball on just those three things I mentioned. I mean, there's more in the CRPD, but those are kind of
Yeah.
like the big ones.
I know
Um,
Article
yeah,
28 is a big one too.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can talk about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Article 28, I don't have it in front of me, but some of the highlights from Article 28 is just the right to housing, just your basic necessities in life
Hmm.
to cover, and they're not being met. They're not being met, everyone. And people who get trapped into legislated poverty, as advocates and even members of government have talked about that word, legislated poverty. When
Hmm.
I grew up, when I was younger, when I was a child and I mean teenager, young adult, I never even heard about the word legislative poverty. What is that? And I remember
Hmm.
talking to my family physician at the time. He's now since long retired, and I remember just vaguely hearing the word poverty, legislative poverty. And I said, what is that? He says, it's all, that's a political term. That's a political term that's artificially made up rent. Okay. It's artificially made up purposely to keep people in legislative poverty.
Mhm.
And he says, but don't worry because once you apply for disability, I mean, it's a pension. And my doctor had thought it was a pension. Well,
Mhm.
magically, it wasn't a pension. The government turned a provincial disability pension into a unicorn that, which is, I got a unicorn behind me.
Mhm.
Yeah, right behind, it's sitting there watching the show. Because then they can basically make the provincial benefits income based tested, means
Mhm.
tested, right? So turn a pension, a guaranteed pension, like seniors have,
Mhm.
and imagine that, hey, you turn
Or
a
the one I have, but we'll get to that. We'll
yeah,
get
yeah,
to
we'll
that.
get to that one. That'll be another topic that we're going to be kind of branching toward.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is one discussion that I had with my family physician. We talked about also a very important topic because we're going to be talking about that on the show right now is about the DTC, which that wasn't part of the headline topics, but it kind of blends in with the CDB. But we're going to be getting to that part too. So the little tease
Yeah.
and
I think the CDB will end the show on that one because
yes,
we're kind of it's all in chronological order, but
yep,
it also kind of works better to talk about the CRPD first, and then talk
yep,
about the clawbacks, and then talk about how the clawbacks are part of now the CDB. So that's
yep,
kind of why we're ordering everything this
yeah.
way. It's like it's chronological, but it also makes logical sense anyway to talk about it this
Oh,
way.
totally. And that
Yeah.
way people can follow along what we're talking about because it all blends in together. But we start with the UN, the CRPD, because that's very important to have all these other mechanisms kind of built in, baked in with each other.
Hmm.
And with the federal government not complying with it, provincial governments don't have to then follow suit. They say, well, the feds are not doing it, so we don't
Hmm.
have to do nothing, right? They just pass the buck over and say, well, the feds are not doing transfer payments to us. Well, I mean, jurisdictional, the provincial governments have to take care of their of their citizens. I mean, we're citizens of Canada, but we're residents of our provinces, and so they have a moral responsibility of taking care of their citizens on provincial benefits. But with the UNCRPD, those rights are not being met. I don't know why that the government, federal government, is really having a difficult time not complying with that. Neil, what is your
Well,
uh,
and again, we're going to be jumping around a little bit, but
yeah,
because we're talking about the CRPD right now, I just wanted to say that there's a lot of politicians that love to throw around the term of in the
yes,
spirit of the CRPD.
yeah,
That, like, for example, and again, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the Canada Disability Benefit, but they'll say the Canada Disability Benefit has been designed in the spirit of
hmm
the CRPD, and it's like,
yeah,
that's a real
yeah,
cop out. I mean, the only group that deserves to say in the spirit of, in my opinion, I mean, again, this is just my opinion, but it's maybe the indigenous groups. When they say in the spirit of something, you can say, like, you know they mean it, because like a lot of their culture is based on spirits and nature and things like that. So if an indigenous group or a First Nations group said in the spirit of, then I would buy it. But as soon as a politician says, we're designing the CRPD, or sorry, we're designing the Canada's disability benefit in the spirit of the CRPD, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
why, when it comes to the not without us, what was that word?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there,
Uh, Nothing about us without us.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing about us without us, and another splashy word, right?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
oh, really? And
It
nobody's
sounds good, doesn't it? It
yeah,
sounds great. It
nobody's
sounds
going to be
great.
left behind. This is going to be a historic benefit. Yeah, I mean, and it's going to go to all PWD to lift them out of legislative poverty. Really? Wow. And how much? Well, that was the big question of the day. I remember way back when in the time machine, back on Twitter Space when we had the show on there, and we had lengthy discussions. We had open mic discussions, and we dived into a lot of that discussions regarding how much is the benefit going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Some people thought, well, yeah, I mean, rumors had it that it was going to be a top up. It was going to be on top of your provincial benefits. Imagine that. And
Mm-hmm.
it was going to be no less than what CERB was at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
when the federal government came out with CERB, it was $2,000 because the federal government said that was the most minimum amount that people needed to get by just for basics. Well, with rents are so high now, I mean, gee, imagine $2,000. I mean, that would just pay your rent, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but provincial benefits for people with disabilities, that would have been on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when the discussion started evolving, people started asking MPs like, well, how much is it going to be? Well, it was in the design stage, or I mean, not in the design stage, talking stage. Um,
But I mean,
yeah.
I think most people, uh, I mean, this is what I mean. This is why I was originally hopeful. I'll use the word hopeful about
Mhm.
this year. Sorry, I keep saying the CRPD. I mean the Canada Disability Benefit. This is why I was hopeful about it because I think most disability advocates, myself included, thought that because it was going to be a top up to a poverty level support, that it was going to be around 600 to $700 to get you up to the maybe the 21 to 2200 level, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it was around that.
yeah, and so I think everybody was kind of relatively happy if they thought, well, if it's going to be around 600 to $700, that is okay. That's doable. Or I mean, it should maybe be a little bit more, but I think most people were kind of happy if that was going to be the kind of the starting amount. People were happy with it, and and I think again when Carla Qualtrough was on the file, I believe that she believed that was going to be the amount too. It was going to be around 600 to $700, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mhm.
Because she used things like it's going to be transformative, it's going to be life changing, historic, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And,
that magic word,
and
historic.
I'm sorry, $200 maximum. Again, we have to throw on the term maximum because some people will get nothing. $200 maximum is not historic. It's not transformative. It's
Mhm.
not life changing. It'll
We'll
it'll
dive
help a little
into
bit, but yeah,
yeah, we'll
yeah.
dive into that part. I kind of throw in some extra stuff into that
Hmm.
component when we get to that part.
Yeah,
But let's go to let's go to clawbacks. And
yeah.
talk about the clawbacks, and then I'm gonna kind of dive into some of the latest stuff about the CDB after. I mean, not too much, but I'll get into a little bit of it. Uh,
And
clawbacks, Neil.
well, and you know what? I kind of thought like in preparation for today's show,
Yeah.
because you know that I love well, I don't love clawbacks. I love
No.
talking about them though. I mean, because I'm very passionate about ending them.
Yes.
And I thought, how am I going to introduce today's topic about the clawbacks? And I thought, you know
Hmm.
what? I was thinking, there's that scene in Titanic,
Yeah.
when Leo DiCaprio and was it Kate Winslet
Hey, Winslet.
are on the front of the boat,
Yeah.
and they're
That
like
was my favorite part.
I am the king of the world, right?
Yeah.
That that
To the
that
world.
scene right there, and then you had the song of Celine Dion playing, and it was "I am the king of the world" at the front of the boat, right?
Yeah.
And let's equate that to Donald Trump right now, because he's basically like my parents love to talk about Donald Trump. Like almost every week they come over, they're saying, "I can't believe what Donald Trump is doing."
Mm.
He's trying to be king of the world, and let's be clear, he's not king of the world. He's president of the United States.
Mm.
And so, but he's trying to like overtake the Congress or the Senate. He's trying to overtake the justice system. That's what my parents are saying. Like he says, if you watch the daily news, which they do, like you know, you have Donald Trump trying to do all those things, and why I'm saying all that is because you have somebody now like you have David Eby saying you can't have Donald Trump running around and saying, I'm the king of the world, that doesn't work, you know. But then you also have David Eby trying to ram through this Bill 7, which is now a Bill 15.
15, yeah.
And I think it's Bill 15,
Yeah.
16, and 17. It's like three different bills or something. I don't know. I think there's three bills that kind of replace this Bill 7 now.
Oh,
But
wow.
but they're all trying to do the same thing that they said, well, you can't do Bill 7 because that's too or overarching powers, or you're taking liberties with your administrative powers.
Mm.
So he's basically doing exactly like Trump is. And I'll bring it back to the whole clawback idea
Mhm.
because you know, the reason why the clawbacks are bad, I mean, they've been going on for over 30 years
Oh, yeah, at least.
where, yeah, where, like, for example, again, if you take the king of the, I'm the king of the world, that's not the truth, right? That's not the truth. If you say, I'm the king of the world,
Yeah.
that's not the truth. Same thing with the clawbacks.
Mhm.
What,
Well, when it comes to the clawbacks, I mean, it also basically means like any rate increases for persons with disabilities on provincial benefits.
yeah,
I call it a clawback when there's no rate increase and the cost of living
exactly.
skyrocketing.
Yeah,
Or I mean, increasing substantially. There's different. Some people don't like the word, skyrocketing. I just think as an action word. I mean, um, rates have increased substantially, meaning rates of inflation, cost of living. As everyone knows, in Canada, I mean, we're in a housing crisis. So,
hmm,
anyone paying market rent on PWD benefits, it's really impossible to unless you find cheap housing that you're in, or you're staying in the housing that you're in. The a whole PWD check. I mean, a whole PWD check doesn't even cover
yeah,
your basic rent, let alone hydro or tent insurance and all your living, your basic essentials. So when the government talks about, oh well, we just can't raise the rates this year due to
hmm,
economic uncertainty. Well, with Donald Trump being the king of the world, I mean, shall we say,
yeah.
controlling all countries and get everybody basically uptight because of all the tariffs, and it affects persons' well-being.
Yeah.
I mean, job losses. I mean, you're talking tens of hundreds of thousands of jobs have already been shredded,
Yeah.
around the world. All for what? And so then the provincial government in BC, David Eby, basically tells his finance minister, "Well, yeah, we need to rein back this spending in all the ministries across the
Yeah.
board. We're talking Ministry of Social Development,
Because the province is broke. It has no money.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, they say they're broke, right? So
Yeah.
no money for education. I mean, the schools are overloaded with the amount of students there. So
Yeah.
now they don't even get their extracurricular activities, funded for within their school district, which is insane. Because I remember that when I was in school, they were cutting back some of the funding then,
Hmm.
and we had no tariffs then. So
Hmm.
to me, I just think it is an excuse of why the government doesn't fund the school system. I mean, we had portables, and now there's even more portables. They were supposed to get rid of them way back when. They never did. How about just build up on the school rather than
Yeah.
up?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, and let's just get back to the clawbacks for just a second. I just
yeah,
wanted to complete my thought on that. I
yeah.
mean, when I talk about the king of the world thing being a lie,
Hmm.
the clawbacks are a lie too because
Hmm.
they're basically the two pillars of the clawback are number one, this is the lie or excuse that they give
Yeah.
is
Total
it's
excuse. Yeah.
is it's they say it's unearned income. They say that a pension is unearned income, which is a big lie,
Yeah.
because the only way you can get a pension is through work, is through paid employment. You pay into it as the employee, and your employer pays into it, and you pay tax on it.
Hmm. Oh
It
yeah.
it's an employee benefit that, again, the only way you get it is through employment.
Hmm.
So to call it unearned income is a big lie.
I
So
remember the club when it.
that's lie number one. So, sorry, Brandon. I just want to
Yeah.
say that that's lie number one. Lie number two is the fact that it's sorry, it's income of last resort. That's lie number two. So lie number one is that it's unearned income, and line number two is income of last resort. Those two things,
Mhm.
the provincial government here in BC and all other provinces, they use it to prop up the idea that a pension is no longer a protected, respected, guaranteed thing. Which, if you define what a pension is, it's a protected, respected, guaranteed income
Mhm.
support. That's what a pension is.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I remember being on medical benefits for a good while one year after injuring myself on a job that I was doing, and so the ministry told me I had to, not an option, had to apply for EI.
Mhm.
EI. Well, I
Just
was
so
on.
they can claw it back.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
because they said that is actually clawable.
yeah,
And so I go to EI and I'm like, well, no, like you don't qualify for this. I don't
yeah.
qualify for it because I was on medical leave. So the ministry tried clawing it off, but the other section of the act states that they can't claw it off because it's not actually classified as income earned. It was already paid into. So their terminology,
Yeah.
not even following their own terminology on it, so it backfired on them. So I had one government arguing with the other government, and I said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just the recipient. I'm already injured. Like, are you going to knock me down further? I'm already hurting in pain and suffering. So you're going to kick me down even further?" Like I said, like you guys need to get with the program and figure out your terminology and modernize things. Like,
But
and
I do think that they do claw back workers' comp.
they
Uh,
tried, they tried, but under a section of it, if it's under a certain medical benefits, that's
mhm.
actually written by a physician who's giving
Okay.
you treatment. There is a
Yeah.
section under that that actually deems that it's not clawable.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's all sorts of things that they do claw back, though, like veterans pensions too. Like, you have, I think most of our veterans now, a lot of them are dead.
Hmm.
But there's veterans that have fought in the First and Second World War, and maybe Vietnam, and places like that. Um, you know, they fought and they put their lives on the line,
Yeah, for what
put
we
their
have
put
now.
put their lives on the line, and then our provinces here in Canada say, "I'm sorry, you put your lives on the line, but you don't actually deserve that pension, because we're already giving you a disability amount. We're already giving you a disability." And I was careful to not say pension, because we all
Yeah,
know that it's not a pension, right? So they're
it
the
used to
pro
be.
it used to be, but the provinces now say, "Well, we're already giving you the PWD's income assistance. So how dare you want to have your pension be a protected, respected, guaranteed income support?" I mean,
Yeah.
again, we all know that. We all know what that it is. That we all
Well,
know it is that.
yeah. I mean, seniors. I mean, who? Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are long passed away now. But you're right, Neil. I mean, those veterans, they put their lives on the line for what Canada has now. If it wasn't for them, Canada would not be Canada right now.
Yeah,
And so, with governments not respecting them, I mean, any survivor who is still living, who is on, disability benefit or any kind of pension that the government loves to claw back, I mean, it's disrespectful to the veteran. I mean,
it
it's
totally
like
is.
it's like housing them. I mean, is it we just kick them to the curb and, oh, I'm sorry, your income's not high enough. We can't give you housing. Is that how we treat our veterans? And I mean, I remember one of the premiers way back when, yeah, we talk about clawbacks. I mean,
Hmm.
is that talking about dog kennels? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you can dive into that part.
Well, that's
That
That's Christy Clark. Yeah.
yeah. Remember, she said, is that how we treat our pets?
Yeah, well, no, she even said like, "Is that how we treat our most vulnerable?" Like
Yeah,
she used the term, "Is that how we treat our most vulnerable?" Like
yeah. Like
when she was
we're
talking about the pets, and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" So
I
you're
know.
in your mind, the most vulnerable are pets, not humans?
I remember that. And then they're saying
Yeah,
if you can't afford to for the cost of living, you can't afford rent. Well, maybe move up north. You know what I mean? No,
yeah,
get out of our hair, move up north and be isolated away from, I mean, now you don't have all your medical practitioners where you need to be. I mean, need to have, you don't have your
yeah.
transportation. I mean, that's like, of course we're going off, a little bit off on the tangent,
Well,
with
we always do,
context,
Brandon.
but that's okay. Yeah, that's nothing abnormal on the podcast, but it just comes down to respect and dignity, really. It's
Yeah.
like saying, well, you don't want to pay market rent, well, go into BC housing. I remember a minister who I talked to recently at the legislature, and he thought that I was in BC housing.
Yeah,
No, I'm in market. I
yeah.
pay market rent. Oh, he says. Oh, I guess so. In their mind, they think that all PWD are in subsidized housing. Well,
Yeah,
no,
and that's just not the case. There's maybe
that's not
15% of us are.
exactly. And
Um,
that's why
but
we say
but but
basically.
yeah, and I just wanted to jump in again and say the reason why we're including the clawbacks as kind
Mhm,
of one of those uh, failed promises, the empty
mhm.
promises, is because again we're going in chronological order. So the first one
Yeah,
was CRPD in 2010,
yeah,
and the clawbacks, the promise to end the clawbacks, at least for here in BC, and I'm sure in other places across Canada, it's been maybe similar where there's been an attempt to end them. But for here in BC, the first attempt to really end them since 1994 or 95, I think 94 was when they first.
94 is when it was
Yeah.
mentioned.
Since 1994, the first attempt to really
But
try.
Mike Harcourt turned it, Premier Mike Harcourt turned the pension
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a means test.
And let's be clear, he's a bigot. He's a bigot for doing that, right? So that is legislation that was brought about through bigoted thinking that's saying, you know, people with disabilities or people on welfare, we'll all lump them in together. People on welfare are don't deserve anything. They're all cheats, varmints, and deadbeats.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, you took the
They're
word.
all cheats, varmints, and deadbeats. And so I as the premier of BC, I'm gonna be a complete bigot, a complete jerk, and say, you know what, you don't deserve a protected, respected, guaranteed income support of a pension, you know? And so we have 30 years now of bigotry that has been propelled forward for 30 years. You know, bigotry after bigotry after bigotry has been propelled forward. And so again, I just wanted to say that it was in 2017 when you had John Horgan.
Mhm.
He was the first one that wanted to try.
Yeah,
He wanted to try to end the clawbacks.
yeah, he did. He did. And was
I mean,
one of the best premiers we've
it
ever
didn't
had.
happen. It didn't happen.
No,
But but
the attempt was
like
there.
the tempo was there, and I and many other advocates in BC here, everybody was saying it. Like I've said it a number of times now. In the lead up to the election, the Premier John Horgan was saying, "I'm going to end the clawbacks." You had Michelle Mungle. You had
Right.
Michelle Mungle
Yeah.
saying, "We're going to end the clawbacks." I had Harry Baines here in MLA here in Surrey Newton saying, "First thing we're going to do when we get power is we're going to end the clawbacks."
Mhm.
Like there was a lot of people saying, "We're going to end the clawbacks. We're going to
Yeah.
end the
A lot.
clawbacks. We're going to end the clawbacks." Like it just was a constant stream of that.
Yeah.
And then somebody must have told John Horgan after he won, okay, shut up about that now. Stop talking about that now.
Mhm.
Because as
It's
soon,
like the bus pass. It's like the $45 a year bus pass. We clawed. It was clawed off by the previous government, and they
yeah.
never got restored because the computer was broken. Well, I still call it as a clawback, right?
Well,
Because
that's really another failed promise, isn't it? Because
yeah,
they said we'll restore the bus pass,
yeah,
and I mean, isn't it convenient that Christy Clark, in all
hmm
her wisdom, said,
yeah,
"Well, I don't want to be the baddie here. I don't want to be the
yeah,
baddie here. So I'm gonna get Michelle Stilwell to
hmm
be the anti-advocate,
yeah,
somebody that is disabled herself, that should know better. I'll get her to be the anti-advocate and victimize and punish people with disabilities, because that'll be funny. That'll be hilarious to get somebody with a disability herself function as an anti-advocate to function as the baddie, and I'll just be laughing and tickling myself,
yeah.
and it just was so stupid, so stupid and ridiculous that somebody like Michelle Stilwell, that should know better with having a disability herself, saying, for equity purposes, I'm going to remove a, affordable annual bus pass, because that's what I should do as an anti-advocate. As an anti-advocate, I'm going to remove a perfectly good functioning annual bus pass, cheap annual bus pass of $45. I'm going to remove it
Well,
and say it's equity.
I've had a lot of people ask me in the last years, okay, and I'll emphasize years, why the government never did fully restore that bus pass, and some of them.
And that's a joke too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, and some of them actually remember that day when that happened, and they said, "Well, why hasn't it not been fully restored back to its original promise?" That's a good question. I said, "That's a very good question." I go, so what I said, and I just kind of refreshed how it happened was that the $45 a year bus pass, it was an annual fee, everyone, that PWD in BC would pay a administration fee of $45, that bus pass,
Mm.
and then you automatically could use it anywhere in British Columbia, unlimited travel. Didn't matter if it was TransLink or BC Transit outside of the TransLink area. And when I say BC Transit, it's on the outlining area. Like there's Okanagan, Kootenays, northern BC, Okanagan. I mean, you name it, Vancouver Island, everywhere within BC is BC Transit. You could use it anywhere on any mode of transportation within, the transit authorities. So that quickly got changed from one government to the other one. And when the other government was in opposition, meaning the BCNDP, they campaigned hard. I mean, the former long lost John Horgan. Now I call that's how I word it, because I lost a good friend and a very
Mm.
good advocate too. John advocated a lot to try to restore that bus pass, and something stopped him from doing so back to its original state. He said, just give them back the $45 a year bus pass, right? So that bus pass got turned into a $52 transportation subsidy. So the transportation subsidy, you could have it added onto your monthly income check.
Mm.
You could use for taking a taxi, paying a friend. You could even go buy groceries with it. Whatever you want to use that money for, so you could be mobile, being mobile and getting around in the communities that you live in, or go to maybe another area. Like I said, how the $45 a year bus pass worked, right? You can go anywhere in BC. Well, if you opted you into that program, you stayed opted in, say for a whole year, you didn't opt out, yeah, you
Mm.
could have the equivalent of that $45 a year bus pass. But with the cost of living going up and the government doesn't give rate increases, not on a continual basis, people tend to opt out of that. And so they take the $52. Now they go without their transportation. So, how is that equity in the system where
Yeah.
you can have a bus pass versus not having a bus pass? I call it sacrifices, which should not have to be. I think PWD should never be tempted to have saying, "Hey, I want that 52. I need to
Yeah.
go. gee, I need to go and buy a new pair of pants, or I need to buy a new sweater, or a new shirt, or underwear, or socks, or shoes, or
Yeah.
whatever. Maybe you get a haircut. Well, my gosh, now you go without transportation. The government says, hey, well, it's a choice, right? I mean, you don't have to do it that way. Well, without raising rates, I mean, that's what I call clawbacks, because not raising rates
Yeah.
is a clawback. So
As
with
as
that, yeah,
yeah,
I'll quickly
sure.
jump in there, Neil.
Yeah.
But with the clawbacks, so people say, well, I mean, did your shelter rate go up? It went up in 2023 from 375, which was frozen for 16 years from the other previous government. And I don't like doing the blame game, right?
Hmm.
But 16 years. And then so the government said, okay, well, we finally raised it, but they were in government, so they took over. The current government took over from the previous administration in 2017. It took them until 2023 to raise that shelter rate up from 375 up to $500.
Hmm.
Now, in 2021, they haven't raised the support portion up, and the cost of living has gone up. So I call that a clawback. By not
Hmm.
raising it, the cost of living goes up. It's a
Yeah,
clawback.
for sure it is.
So
Yeah.
4 years. So yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna get sidetracked here. Uh, I hate that when that happens, Brent. Um, what was I gonna say? Um, I don't know. You can keep talking and
Yeah. Yeah, no
I'll
worries.
jump in
Yeah,
again.
yeah. I interrupted everyone. I interrupted Neil.
Yeah.
Train of thought, and I just went off on a rant.
And that's when I get a brain fart.
But
So,
it just pisses me off that not restoring something that was supposed to be restored, and not raising rates on a continual basis. But the part that really pisses me off is not
mhm,
tying rates to the cost of living adjustment COLA. Now,
mhm.
if another government in another province, and I don't like doing jurisdictional, like playing one province or PWD against PWD, because it's not fair. Governments
Yeah.
love doing that anyway. I love to come united and work with PWD, and we'll find solutions of how to fix the broken system, right?
Well, I know what I was going to say
Yeah,
now,
go ahead.
Brent. Is the we and you say this all the time. I mean, we both do. Is this idea of pitting PWD against each other?
Yeah, that's what I
Uh,
just
yeah, of like, well, you deserve a bus pass and you don't.
yeah.
Like they have now with the seniors. The seniors get the bus pass,
Yeah.
but PWD don't.
Well, that's what was
Uh,
brought up to me recently was about
yeah,
that.
and then it's like, well, you deserve a an income subsidy or a rent subsidy, but you don't,
Yeah.
and you deserve a clawed back pension, but here you get to have your $15,000 of exempt income from McDonald's, but we won't protect or respect a guaranteed again, that's what a pension is. It's a
Income,
guaranteed
income supplement.
income supplement, right? That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes. Yeah.
it's a GIS, and to turn a GIS pension into a pink unicorn and
Yeah.
say that it's no longer a GIS guaranteed thing is just so stupid.
My
And
mom and
it,
I used to have that discussion quite a bit, Neil, because I used to do my mom's taxes for her. Technology wise, I mean, my mom didn't know too much about the technology. I mean, internet really, it was just starting to become a thing at the time. But I actually did her income tax for her, and
Mhm.
I got to learn how the GIS worked, how the OAS worked, how CPP, and any other small little pension that my mom would have. But the GIS, her and I would get into a big discussion regarding the GIS versus PWD benefits. And my mom
Mhm.
says, well, why did the government back then? Why did they turn a pension into income means tested? And I said, that's a good question. She goes, I
Yeah.
remember that day when it was on TV when that hardcore guy, she used to say, that's how she works. She was that hardcore guy. She says, I remember that day. She says, I
The,
turned that.
the the bigoted jerk. The
She
bigoted
said I had
jerk.
to turn that filth off TV. She called it filth.
Yeah.
She said
Yeah.
that was it. She said it made her sick, and
Yeah.
she said it's disrespectful. But so anyway, getting back that, she's so why did they not turn the GIS into income means tested? She said, or we started, talking about benefits. And of course, my mom is long past gone. I miss her every day. We had Mother's Day yesterday. I was thinking about her lots. But she would have been foaming, beyond foaming at the mouth if she would have heard
Mhm.
about the bus pass fiasco. Because I had the bus pass then. And she would go around. I mean, she had a senior's bus pass. I had a bus pass.
Yeah.
So we would travel around, and she would have been just so upset. Imagine if she would have been living today, she would have been saying exactly what we're saying now. Why did they not take away the seniors bus pass then? Why did they take away PWD bus pass,
Yeah.
not the seniors? And,
Yeah.
and I get that discussion from seniors in my neighborhood who ask me the same question every so often, not every day, but the same question keeps coming up. And this came from a bus operator, BC government. I had
Yeah.
a question from a operator, one of your BC transit operators, and one of them from TransLink when I used to live in the TransLink area. A question has been brought up to me several times.
Hmm.
Why did you not take away the seniors bus
Yeah.
pass? Why did you not
Because that
restore?
would have been more fair and equitable,
Yeah,
right? To
but they
take it
also
away for everybody.
but they
Yeah.
also said, why did you not restore back the $45 a year bus pass as promised? That was a
Yeah.
question that was asked many times
Yeah.
too. So that's a question for the BC government. Okay, so that's back in 2016 when that was taken away, everyone. So that's 9 years ago. 9 years, hey? How time flies
Yeah.
by. And now here we are, and the bus it never got restored back. Yeah, people are really hurting in the province and across Canada. And then,
When
yeah,
sorry, when they talk about the clawback too, because I've been fighting this for 12 years, over 12
oh
years
no, it's
now,
ridiculous,
and
Neil.
the argument that I always get back is, well, it's not discrimination, Neil. It's only unfair. It's not discrimination. It's only
Hold on,
unfair.
just
And again, my retort back is it is discrimination because it is a targeted thing. Like you're deliberately targeting
mm-hmm.
people that have a pension, and
Yep,
it's like somebody going up on the roof of the legislature, like and imagine an MLA, and we won't say they're real guns. We'll
yeah,
just say we'll just say they're water pistols or something.
yeah.
So they're up on the roof of the legislature with water pistols
I used
and
to call Uzi guns.
yeah, and let's say they line up all the people with pensions on the front legislature lawn and go, bang! You have a pension, bang! You have a pension, bang! I mean, it's all targeted. It's targeted discrimination. Like when it's a targeted thing, when it's a targeted thing, and you're saying that this money counts as valid and this money doesn't count as valid, that is a discriminatory action. That is a prejudice discriminatory action to say that this money counts as a valid protected income. At McDonald's, if you work at the McDonald's for 40 hours, we're going to respect that. And you can keep that. That's
Mhm.
exempt, but a protected pension, we're
Yeah.
not we're not going to respect and protect that.
Well, that's
You
what
know.
that's what happened with and I told the story many times, and I think back, I kind of look back and in memories of the cherished memories of good times. Yesterday, I reflected a lot on Mother's Day, and I was thinking about clawbacks actually, and that's why I'm glad we're talking about clawbacks
Mhm.
today because I was preparing for the show for today, and it always stuck in my mind about protected pensions and clawbacks of income earned, income unearned, and my mom earned it because she earned it off her pension, and she went shopping at her local co-op, and you
Mhm.
get rewarded. So anyone who's not familiar with the co-op, how they work is that you have a membership, and you can get case lot sales. You can get some really good deals. I used to do a lot of shopping there because it was close by where I lived,
Mhm.
and so we would do a lot of shopping there. My mom would buy pet food because she had her hobby farm and she loved her animals, so were her family. And when one passed away, it was a real sorrow. But then she replaced that passed away pet with another pet. and sometimes two more to replace so that she'd have a bonus. Kind of funny, actually. I'm like, no, Ma, why? So yeah. Anyway, so long story short is, so she would do a lot of shopping at the
Mhm.
co-op, and so she would get rewarded once a year with a it's a subsidy. It's a percentage off of what she had spent, and she
Yeah.
put it back as a bonus.
Yeah.
So she got back the one year. I mean, actually, there was one year she got $3,000 back. There was
Oh,
one year
wow.
she got 15, oh, $1,700. Well, guess
Mhm.
what, folks? It's called unearned income according to the government.
Right.
Guess what? They took it off her income,
Yeah.
off her pension,
Yeah.
and she didn't know. And they at first they said, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's fine." Well, no, it wasn't fine. So she went to go and said, "Okay, Brent, can you help me pay my bills?" And she had to go and pay her rent.
Yeah.
Well, nothing in her account. So she phoned up the government. Well, what's going on? Oh, well, we deducted off of that because unearned income. Well, guess what? I had to go to my employer at the time and ask if I could get an advancement off my paycheck,
Mhm.
an advancement. Well, not employers, or a lot of them are going to do that.
No.
I had a good relationship with my employer at the time, a family restaurant I worked at, and think that I really, like, I was so thankful. They gave me 2 months, 2 months worth of income in advance to go and pay my mom so
Wow.
she could go and pay her bills, pay her rent. Well,
Mhm.
guess what? I then had to now work for free.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
go work for free at a family
Yeah.
restaurant, and that was the agreement. Oh, we're going to do this, but you
Mhm.
won't get a paycheck from us for 2 months, so
Mhm.
you can help your mom out. The employer had tears. They had tears in their eye that they said how cruel that the government could be to do that.
Yeah.
My mom, her stress level went up, and I think that kind of escalated her medical condition. It really elevated it at the time. I came back with a check from my employer, and I actually then co-signed it over to my mom. And so yeah, like, I mean, I cashed it, but I mean, in a sense, co-signed it
Yeah,
over.
that's
Funny.
really hard. That's really heartbreaking.
And
Yeah.
it put a lot of stress on the family.
Mhm.
My brother had moved out at the time, so it was just me and my mom there. And of course, that's when she applied for a subsidized amount through Safers, a seniors program. And of course, then we had to make a choice, like clawbacks. We had a choice of clawing back one of her sons to basically, you need to stay,
Mhm.
you need to go, and the
Yeah.
clawback again. So all these clawbacks, they
Yeah.
need to end. Government, they need to end.
And I mean,
What?
yeah, and let's talk truth. Let's talk truth and honesty here, Brent.
Yeah,
We all know that if I mean, we started the show saying king of the world, right?
yeah.
If I was appointed
Oh,
if I was appointed
yeah,
king of the world for a day,
yeah.
and I decided that I was going to claw back all of the MLA pensions,
Hmm.
we know that all the MLAs would be belly aching.
Oh,
They
yeah.
they they would be saying, "How dare you, Neil? How dare you claw back our pensions? Those are a deserved thing. We worked for those. We paid into those. They're a protected, respected, guaranteed income, right? They would be saying the exact same thing that I've been saying for 12 years.
Hmm.
They would be saying, "How dare you, Neil? How dare you?" Right?
Yeah. And meanwhile,
But
now you got the government in BC saying they're broke. And that's why they say they
yeah,
can't raise the disability benefits. Really? Well, you haven't
yeah,
raised them in 2 freaking years, and that was before the tariffs. They're using the tariffs. Donald Trump had his tariffs. They're using that as an excuse why not to raise the rates. Well, they didn't raise
yeah,
them 2 years ago, and there was no tariffs in place.
yeah. I
But
know.
they gave themselves $60,000 each MLA, 47 of them, $60,000 as a retention, right? And $18,000 minimum to all the staffers. And
Yeah,
then meanwhile, I keep turning around, I keep hearing, oh, they've now hired a new chief of staff, and now a new coordinator, hundreds of thousands of dollars each person.
yeah,
Oh, then we need to fire this person, severance pay. Oh, hire the same person back into another position. But meanwhile, the government has no money; they're broke.
yeah,
Yeah. And who told me that? A minister who's in charge of MSDPR, who said
yeah.
that the government is broke.
Yeah, Sheila Malcolmson.
Wow.
Uh, we've already been on the show almost a full hour, Brent. So why don't we transition
Yeah,
to clawbacks as they relate to the
yeah,
Canada
and the
Disability
disability.
Benefit now?
Sure. Okay.
Because that's kind of a good jumping off point. And
Yeah.
we have to say again, the reason why we're doing the show is because on Friday we're going to have Sheila Milkins, and we're going to have Cheryl Hardcastle
That's
on.
something that I said on the one show, and it was I remember that I was almost daydreaming the other day. I was deja vu. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that. It was one of those funny brain farts, and I did that.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad with our guest that we had, and we had Dan Trays on, and I said Dan Davies, and I
Yeah,
could
that's
not get
right.
the name out of my mind, and I said,
Well, because we're just throwing out names all
yeah,
the time, and so anyway. But
yeah,
yeah, we're gonna have
okay,
Cheryl Hardcastle on,
yeah,
and she's gonna be diving in quite at length about the sorry, I
and the
can't even
disability
say
benefit.
Canada Disability Benefit and the clawbacks related to that. But so we can actually just kind of have a brief, like 10 or 15 minutes talking about it,
Yeah.
because she's gonna devote a whole show on
Yeah,
Friday about it
I'll give
anyway.
you my opinion. I'll start it off and then I'll pass it over to you, Neil.
Hmm.
So the just for people tuning in on the podcast or watching live, so this is my opinion about the Canada Disability Benefit, right? It was launched. The idea came forward in 2020, as we know, during COVID. Everyone, got to hear Justin Trudeau, the former Prime Minister of Canada, had come on every morning. He'd come on the news hour. I'd be watching news hour. Oh, breaking news! No, they would wait, and then they'd see Justin Trudeau at the stairs of the big mansion. I called it, right, and so
Yeah.
be waiting. All the media be waiting for him to come out, and one day it was his hair was all blowing. I guess it was really windy, and his hair. He's like this. He's like combing his hair, or he's brushing
Yeah.
his hair, and hand between his hair, and then he comes out and he says, fellow Canadians, I know people were suffering, and we're here for you, right? And every day went by. More people were getting help. More people were getting the help.
Mhm.
It came all the way down to seniors. Then he started talking about the most vulnerable, and okay, like he's going to talk about people with disabilities. Okay, so I'm
Mhm.
sitting on the edge of my seat. Okay, yeah, he started talking about seniors.
Mhm.
Oh, well, and he goes, okay, thank you, everyone. I'll take messages from the media now. Well, hang on, wait a minute. What about people with disabilities? Well, the
Mhm.
next day came. He finally mentioned people with disabilities.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. I thought, wow, what happened here? We were the last to be mentioned out of getting
Mhm.
help. I thought, okay, well, I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I guess he was going through a chronological order of, prioritizing who needs help, who doesn't need help, and he
Yeah.
got down to people with disabilities. Well, I thought, okay, so we're the last end of the stick. Usually, that's always the case, even provincial. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that people on
Mhm.
disability benefits in Canada. I don't know, government doesn't seem to want to prioritize that. But anyway, getting back to the Canada Disability Benefit. So the idea came forward about where, as we mentioned, the former minister who was in charge of the file federally, Carla Quantrill, was appointed with the Canada Disability Benefit. She wanted to make it historic. It was going to be transformative. It was going to help to lift.
Life changing.
Yeah, it was going to be life changing. It was going to lift people with people on provincial benefits out of legislative poverty. There was no talk about having to have a disability tax credit in order to qualify
Mhm.
for for the Canada Disability Benefit. There was no wording at the time of working age disabled Canadians. There was no
Mhm.
talking of that. I thought, wow, okay. I thought,
And also, we have to say that the numbers of people that were going to qualify were
oh,
much higher.
it was going to be at least over 1.5 million
Yeah,
people.
that was the starting number, right?
Yeah,
1.5 million.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is great, and it's going to be tied to either the LICO or the MBM, because federal wants to go with MBM, and I'll get to that point in just a little while here.
Mhm.
The MBM, okay, so there's LICO formula and the MBM market basket measure, or the LICO, which is the low income cutoff measure. So the federal government went with the LICO for the CERB. Okay, they didn't go with MBM. Provinces want to go with MBM because it's the lower amount, the most minimum amount that they can actually provide to the recipients. So that's what I found out from the provincial government that the feds want to go with the MBM. But how CERB was put out was $2,000. So, in my opinion, was that okay? So the Canada Disability Benefit is going to be transformative. It's going to be amazing amount to get out to people to help people in legislative poverty, so they can buy their basic means of equipment that they need to help them with their disabilities, system in many ways, adaptive equipment that they could basically not qualify for under provincial benefits, or maybe through their service providers, that they go through, because the equipment's pretty expensive, right? So this amount would actually help them achieve a lot more independence in so many ways, accessibility wise in their communities that they live in or going across the country.
Which again, going back to the Convention on the Rights for people with Disabilities, it talks about in one of the clauses, or whatever you want to say, it talks about that independence. Like
Yes.
that independence is a huge thing.
Yep.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah,
And it just gets kind of shit on or ignored.
Yeah, and that's why I referenced that, because it's so important that for people to have accessibility, making choices of where they want to go, how do they get there by on their own without having government saying you need a day pass to go here and there. People should be able to move freely within their country where they reside as a resident. They are citizens of Canada. And that Canada Disability Benefit would have probably opened up a lot more opportunity for PWD across Canada. Quickly, the language changed on that as the bill started progressing through. It was originally supposed to get through the first session of Parliament, and then they called a snap election. The Prime Minister called a snap election. That bill, on the first reading of the bill, it collapsed. So it failed. Then they renamed the bill going forward. Yeah, so they renamed the bill going forward. They had to start from scratch, but gave it a brand new fancy bill number and then build it from that point on. I know the intention at the beginning was to get it out to people fast, and they wanted to really help people. I think that was the main intention.
But then the numbers changed.
And then the numbers changed. They saw the numbers of how is this going to help people? And hang on. No, we can't give that.
We're helping too many people now.
So it was going to be equivalent of around what the LICO formula was. And so $2,000 was served. So that was in 2020. So it would have been going up to approximately almost $200 every 2 years. So it would have been like $2,400, $2,600 around that area per month. Per month, not per year, everyone. All of a sudden, to fast forward all the way to now, it's now going to be $200 maximum per family unit, not per individual, per family unit. And you have to qualify for a DTC. You got to do the CDB application on top of it. Piles of paperwork. Doctors, if you have a doctor, great. If you don't have a doctor, nope, you're SOL. Or you got a doctor who doesn't even want to fill it out, saying, well, you're disabled in your province. Well, what if they don't want to fill it out? Well, now the province says, well, I mean, you can qualify, but you have to apply for it. But if you don't, sorry about that, but we're not going to raise your rates because we're waiting on the federal government to give it to you. And what about the provinces that want to claw that off you? Now, there's two provinces now.
There's the magic word, Ben.
There's a
clawback.
Alberta Premier wants to claw back the CDB. Alberta, imagine everyone. Alberta Premier wants to claw back.
We're already giving you way too much AISH. We're giving you too much AISH. We have to claw back.
You're going to get CDB. Up to $200. We want to take that all off. But here's the condition. You have to apply. It's not an option. In Alberta, they say you have to apply for it so that we can now take it away from you. So we want you to apply for it so the feds will give you 200. That we're going to say, okay, one hand, and we're going to take it with the other. Thank you very much.
No soup for you.
No soup for you. No 200 for you. Now, Ontario hasn't committed to saying they're not going to claw back. And they're leaving people with PWD with the designation in their province on the edge of their chair, on the edge of their Chesterfield. and sitting, on pins and nails, basically worrying, are they going to claw that off me? I mean, come
Mm.
on. I mean, provinces don't claw that off the recipients, and the provinces that have committed to not clawing off, if the PWD don't qualify for whatever reason for that federal benefit, increase the rates then.
Yeah.
Increase the rates immediately. Don't not,
Yeah.
oh, we're waiting on tariffs. Donald Trump's caused all this chaos. Like I said earlier in the podcast, these problems were already happening before the tariffs even came in.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about an economic responsibility of managing your finances within your provinces. You need to take care of your citizens, right? Your residents, and because when you give them more money, it actually betters their health. It puts less strain on the healthcare systems. It betters the person's well-being. They can make proper choices for healthy eating. They don't have to rely on the food bank. They can buy their own food. They can have a better accommodation in their life. Maybe they're living in precarious housing and it's not a good situation. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
You're living with mold and mildew, and you got silverfish running amok.
Extra pets. Extra
You've got extra
pets.
pets. I mean, you've got lovely tenants who live above you who stomp around, and thank gosh while I'm
Yeah.
doing the podcast, it's not thumping above me right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negative things, but a negative I can turn negative into a positive. A
Yeah.
positive is I have lovely neighbors around besides my neighbors upstairs.
Hmm.
Lovely neighbors around me. It's a nice community, but it's not the place I want to be. I want to be
Hmm.
back in the community that I grew up in, but I'm not allowed to be there because the government says, nah, I can't raise your rates up to that. I don't want you to live somewhere nice. I don't want you to live in somewhere where you grew up and you have that community feel, that community spirit.
Only some people, Brent, only
Only
some
some
people on
people,
PWD
yes,
deserve to get a rent subsidy. Not
exactly.
you.
Nope.
Only 15% of us
And the thing is,
get
and we lived in a nice place, but
yeah.
the government says, we're going to take away $300, but we're going to allow you to keep 175 of it, and then we're going to give it back to you in 2 years from that point
Hmm.
on, and we're going to classify it as an increase to your shelter,
Yeah.
and we're going to wait 2 more years after, and still nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's how it is, folks.
But and again, like this whole thing about the subsidies and the clawbacks,
Yeah.
don't call it discrimination, Brent. Don't call it discrimination, Neil. It's just unfair.
It's,
It's just like
it's just how the system works.
we're just pitting PWD against PWD, but it's not discrimination. It's only unfair, Brent,
It's
Neil.
policy, and
It's
and Brent,
policy. It's
policy.
policy.
It's embedded in there. We don't want to change it because it's always worked good that way.
I mean, if you took our houses away, like as MLAs, and
Oh,
if you
imagine.
took our pensions away, I mean,
Oh,
then we would bellyache. But
they'd be protesting in the street.
it's because it's only your pension, Neil. We're not gonna care.
The
We're not gonna
media, the
care.
media would be buzzing all over that. And but
Yeah,
people, PWD's lives, no media, nowhere to be seen. They're all
yeah.
quiet. They're crickets. You
Yeah.
know,
So
and
it's like this idea of like 15% of people deserve it and 15% or the other don't, and like you deserve to get your income exempted and you don't deserve to get your income exempted. As soon as you have those rules, you're playing favorites. And if you
yeah,
play favorites, that is a discriminatory action. It just is. That's the truth. And that's why it bugs me. Anyway,
yeah,
we're gonna have, like I said, we're gonna have Cheryl on Friday, and she's gonna do a more deep dive the way she does it.
yeah.
We love her for it, so we'll just save the deep dive for Cheryl on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to having Cheryl Hardcastle joining us on Friday, May the 19th. So stay tuned on that episode. And then she'll be continuing a piggyback off where we left off. And yeah, it'd be great.
Almost like a part two
Part two of where we left off on the 200th episode.
on the 200th episode. Yeah.
So I want everyone to stay tuned on that. Definitely tune in, watch for our posting on social media and we'll be advertising it out. Definitely join into the comment section when Cheryl's on. I don't think she'll be taking any questions at the time, but you can leave your comments and we can.
Well, leave them in the chat as
Yeah.
people do. They actually, you know what? I haven't really been following the chat. That's my bad. I have to
Oops.
apologize. I kind of had too many things open, and sometimes I have too many things open, so I haven't really been following the chat. But we have Peter in chat right now. He's
Hi,
made a
Peter.
couple of comments. He's said that the Canada Disability Benefit is a joke.
It is.
$200 for what? And he
Yeah.
says congratulations on the 200 episodes. So that's great. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So for on on the show on Friday, people can still send in their comments, and we'll try to answer some questions on the air if people want to send questions in.
Yeah.
But
Look.
that's going to be a great episode. Like we just kind of wind Cheryl up and let her go,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I love it. I love when she comes on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. She's awesome.
yeah.
I call it just the wind up Cheryl, and we just let her go. And
Yeah.
I mean, Cheryl, and this is in a good way. Like,
In a totally good way.
yeah.
Like I love it when people come on and they just talk and talk and talk. Yeah.
Well, because she throws out all factual information,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
people, some
Yep.
people don't want to hear it.
Yep.
They don't want to face that reality of what people with disabilities go through. They're like, because they think, I think in some cases, and I've had comments thrown to me before in the past of people saying, "Well, I can't believe that the government hasn't raised the rates in that many years, or why can they not just raise the rates enough and just get it done and over with already, and then
Mhm.
just tie it to inflation?" I mean, Ontario, I mean, they have a conservative government in Ontario, Doug Ford, and he's tied ODSP rates to cost of living adjustment. Come on,
Yeah.
BC. Like
Yeah. BC could do it.
your advocacy organizations have actually mentioned to you strongly as a high recommendation to do it. And yeah, the government
That
says,
would be like the bare minimum because like
yeah,
again, we're gonna be off get off the show, but
yeah,
let's say, I mean, you've been talking about the fact that you and Sonia are going to be facing a $25 increase on
each.
on each
Yeah,
on your rent, right?
yeah, and yeah,
And
yeah, like
I mean, so
too.
if you had the cost of inflation tacked on every year, that wouldn't be as big of I mean, I
Yeah, you would
mean,
have to
yeah,
cut back somewhere else.
you wouldn't have to cut back, but now you're kind of really sweating it now, right?
Well, yeah, because it's going to be time to do a service renewal on my internet and cable. And yeah, so do I, I guess the question is, do we lock into a 2-year service agreement with our service provider? If you do month to month, you're paying regular retail price, and there's no way I could pay regular retail price. So I have to make some really tough decisions and go with what I can do with the service provider. If I go down to they call it a subsidy program with the service provider, then the
Yeah.
internet speed will be much lower. The
It'll
advanced
be
much
throttled,
lower.
so I'm hoping,
So I'm hoping I have to do that because that would not
yeah.
be good. Again, government, like, you have a legal responsibility of taking care of your residents in your province. At least do the most minimum, tie it to COLA, cost of living adjustment. COLA. I mean, who doesn't like COLA? I don't know.
Will people still tune into a pixelated podcast?
No, they won't.
We know that
Are down.
Sheila Malcolmson tunes into the podcast regularly. I wonder if she would tune in if it was all pixelated podcast. And she'd be like, Brent, why is your show all pixelated now? It used to be good. It used to be good.
It used to be good. The ratings are going down, Brent. Come on. Uh,
Why is it all pixelated now, Brent?
yeah, you
I
need to
don't
do better, Brent.
understand.
Yeah, they'll be like, you need to do better. Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the most minimum. And I say the organizations in BC, a lot of the disability organizations, and they don't just fight just for disability. They also fight for human rights. They also fight for, the housing, reduce homelessness. I look at ways of preventable measures. I look at ideas of how to fix the system. Government love to keep the status quo. Status quo is not working, everyone. It's not working. Government's not working. Status quo. We need to
They
change.
love their pink unicorns.
Yeah, we need to change the
Oh,
language
we
on
have
it.
to say,
Yes.
remember, we David Eby in one of his speeches in the legislature just a few days ago, he actually mentioned a pink unicorn in his
He
speech, and
did.
I was floored. I was floored. It's like, is he listening to our podcast?
I heard that. I heard the word pink unicorn. I couldn't.
I'm like, wow. So David is listening to our podcast.
The pink unicorn's
The
eyes. Like,
pink
wow.
unicorn.
Yeah, the
Wow.
one I have right behind me. I got a pink unicorn
Yeah.
right there. So if
I was floored.
people
I'm like, one David Eby's
I love
mentioned
it.
mentioning pink unicorns.
Pink unicorn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved it, but
Yeah.
we gotta punch out,
Yeah.
Brent.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's show. As usual, subscribe, like, and share the content. Buy us a cup of coffee with the $sign down there.
Yeah.
The comment section, you'll see it. And then there'll be a repeat of the show. You can go back and then, yeah, that of course that dollar bill will show back up
Watch
again.
it a billion times to
You
get
can.
our hours up. Yeah.
Yeah, just go back and catch up with left out. And yeah, time to sign off because it is
Oh, 11:11. We have to
Sunday.
sign off right now then.
Right at 11:11.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Take care.